Are you afraid to cold call shippers? If you are, I'm going to share with you 4 reasons why freight brokers and freight agents are afraid to pick up the phone and cold call shippers. Now, the fact is, if you are going to be a successful freight broker or a freight agent, you are going to need to learn how to cold call. You're going to need to learn how to sell. You're going to learn how to start a dialogue with your prospects. Sales is a part of the business. There is no load board that you are going to go to or no website that you're going to go to and send a message or submit rates and get and build a successful freight brokerage. It involves sales. This is not some get rich quick scheme. Okay. You have to understand, you have to develop the skills necessary in order to build a real business. So that's part of the reason why we're here today, because I know a lot of people are afraid to pick up the phone and make cold calls and cold call shippers. So I'm going to share with you, first, we're going to start with the 4 reasons why you're afraid. And then I'm going to share with you some tips on how to overcome those challenges and issues and reasons. Okay. So number 1, we're going to go through all 4 of the reasons first. Number 1 reason, this is known in no discernible order, is you don't know what to say. You don't have any experience making cold calls, so therefore you don't know what to say. That's a huge challenge, right? That's a problem. That's something you need to overcome. Now, as a part of my Freight Broker Bootcamp, my online training program, we do share some scripts and some outlines and some strategies on how to do that for startup brokers, all right? So understanding and creating a basic sales script is step number 1, right? That gets you started. That gets you to the table. And all that is, a sales script is simply a way to take a cold prospect, someone that doesn't know who you are and doesn't know what you sell, and develop rapport and make a good first impression so that you can move on to the next call or step in the sales cycle. Okay. So cold call is not about closing the sale. It's not about getting the deal. It's the first step in that sales cycle. Okay. So having a script is important. And that's part of what you would get in Freight Broker Bootcamp. But I also want to share with you, and this is important because I know that you guys have asked me, I had a lot of questions recently about it. And that is, you guys have been asking me about my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator and when I'm going to open it up again. All right. So my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is where I take that piece of my brain in a 5-week, all about sales strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system in a 5-week Freight Broker sales coaching program where I am your coach and I teach you for 5 weeks my entire system. Okay. And as a part of that, obviously, we teach, how to get your prospects' attention, how to create effective sales scripts, how to create compelling sales hooks, things of that nature, and how to go through that. So if you guys, even after this training, no matter how much you like this training or how much this helps you, if you think you want help and you need help getting shippers and you need help getting over this fear and you need a system for getting shippers predictably in any market, up or down, get on the wait list. Getting on the wait list is absolutely free. The coaching program is not, but it'll be worth 10x, minimum 10x, whatever the investment is at that time. I'll release all those details. We are going to be opening that up in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's the goal. And when we do, everybody on the wait list is going to be the first people that are going to get notified. Okay. So if you guys want some help, get on the wait list. Okay. So that's important. Okay. Reason number 2, you don't know who to contact. You don't know who to reach out to. You don't know who the right person is. And so I can share with you right now, there are a lot of titles of people that you would reach out to, but the most common ones are shipping managers, warehouse managers, logistics managers, transportation managers, people of that nature, people that are mid to low level managers in the logistics transportation space, right? In the logistics space within producers, manufacturers, distributors, people that make, produce, and ship goods, right? So because we're in the shipping and trucking and logistics industry, we need product that needs to go on a truck. Typically, most brokers operate over the road. So we're looking for people that are a part of whatever niche we've decided to go after. Maybe that's the oil and gas niche or the produce niche or food and beverage or whatever niche you're going to go after. And we need to identify who those companies are. And we need to identify who the title of the person that is going to be controlling those decisions that we would be speaking to. And then we need to find out who that person is. There's a variety of ways you do that, right? So And again, this is all covered in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, right? So whether you've went through my Freight Broker Bootcamp or you haven't and you just need some help on the sales side and you understand the return on investment of getting past these roadblocks when it comes to sales, make sure you get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That was reason number 2. Reason number 3, you don't have enough practice. All right, so there's an old saying, right? Practice makes perfect. But in reality, that's only partially true. There's a kind of a theory behind this, and that is perfect practice makes perfect, right? So you have to do things more effectively. So one of the best ways, I mean, you can take a script that you've created or maybe even one that you've been given by a coach or a mentor or found online, and you can practice that script. Just you reading the script in the mirror or, in your head or whatever, you reading that script and memorizing that script. And there's a certain amount of value to that. But what I think is one of the best ways to get over that number 3, not having enough practice is to do role playing with your spouse, with your friend, with your partner, with your brother, with your mom, with your dad, with your coach, whoever. Do some sort of role playing where they act as the shipper and you act as the broker and you role play. And, they're not going to just roll over for you. They're not going to just give you the sale. They're going to give you some objections. They're going to give you some challenges. They're going to give you some issues. They're going to make it hard because that's the reality. You're going to get some rejection. You're going to have objections. You're going to have challenges. It's not all going to go according to Hoyle, right? It's like they say, right? You can have the perfect plan. You're boxing and you're getting in the ring and we've got the perfect plan until we get punched in the face, right? And then all of a sudden that plan goes out the window and we got to just fight. And that's kind of how sales is. So I think the best way to overcome that is with role playing. Role playing. You do that, it will build your confidence in a huge way. And number 4, and I want you to hold tight here because I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome these issues. I know I've given you a couple already, but I'm going to dive into some things that we talk about in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator and some things that will really move you along and really move the needle for you on the sales side. Reason number 4 is, and this is the biggest one, you are afraid of rejection. Being afraid of rejection, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure is what holds many, many people back. It's probably one of the most crippling fears that any new salesperson or freight broker can have. I see it all the time with new students in boot camp. I see it all the time with new students in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. And the fact is the fear of rejection and the fear of failure is real. Get that through your head. It's real. I understand it. I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making light of it, but it is real. And so what you have to understand is how to overcome that fear. Now, there are a lot of different ways that people talk about overcoming that fear and the fear of rejection, right? So I'm going to share with you a few tips, right, to kind of address these 4 reasons why you're afraid to pick up the phone and cold call shippers. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the most important ones that you have to understand is how to create a compelling sales hook. Now, what do I mean by that? It's part of the sales script. See, one of the most challenging parts about cold calling is getting your prospects' attention. If you sound like everybody else, then it's not going to get their attention, right? After you hear the commercial one time, it's not compelling anymore, right? It loses value. So every time they hear someone that sounds like you, then it has less impact. So you have to sound different. So creating a compelling sales hook is a very, very important part of the sales process. And it's a major part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but if you guys are serious about success with your freight brokerage or your freight agency and you're struggling to get shippers, you need to get on the wait list. Okay. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/wait list. All right. So creating a compelling sales hook and being different is a very important part of this. A sales hook, I'm going to give you one example, and then we're going to move through some of these other tips. A compelling sales hook can be, the key here is it needs to focus in on something that's relevant and contextual to the prospect. It has to be about them. So let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, my niche was the steel industry. I am dealing with steel manufacturers, distributors, producers in the United States, and people that are importing steel, importers, exporters, and producers of steel and steel related products. Let's say that's the niche. Okay. And so my prospects have challenges, pains, and issues that are specific to that industry and that are specific to logistics and transportation as a whole. So let's talk a little bit about the industry. I get Joe Smith and he's with XYZ Steel. I got his name and his phone number and we're going to contact him. First thing I do is gather some sales intelligence, go to LinkedIn, go to Google, go to their website and gather some sales intelligence. And what I find is that there was some recent legislation. This is just a hypothetical. There was some recent legislation passed by the US government that's going to heavily impact imports and exports of steel in the United States, right? So there's some legislation. I'm being generic about this, but it's well known throughout the industries. So what I might use is, because I know that's going to impact their business, because I know that's going to impact the logistics of that business, I might create a compelling sales hook where I call up Joe and I say, hey, Joe, my name's Dennis with XYZ Logistics. Congratulations on all your guys' success. I see you guys are doing very well. But I was just curious. I read an article recently about the new legislation that's going to have a serious impact on the steel industry related to imports and exports and tariffs. And I'm just curious. You don't know me from Adam, but I'm just curious. How do you think that's going to impact your company? But more importantly, how do you think that's going to impact your role in logistics? And then I zip my lip. Now, the first thing you notice is that that's different than any other freight broker, sales agent, or whatever contacting them that day or ever. Nobody's ever reached out to them and had that type of a sales hook, that type of an intro. Different is better than better. I've said this a million times. So that's a perfect example of how you can be different to get your prospects' attention. So I'm going to move on, right? So that was creating a compelling sales hook. Number two, you need to learn how to prepare for rejections, right? You are going to get objection and rejections. Let's talk about objections, right? So there are 4 common objections that brokers are going to get, brokers and agents. Number 1, price. Your price is too high. Number 2, send more info, which is kind of like a smokescreen objection. Number 3, we don't use brokers. Love that. That's one of my favorites. And then number 4, we're happy with our current provider, right? So those are 4 common objections that you're going to get as a freight broker. Well, you need to understand how to overcome each one of those objections. Now, I can't teach you that on this short live, okay? We don't have enough time. But the fact is, if you understand how to overcome those 4 core objections, you will understand how to overcome 90+% of the objections that you're going to get when you're on the phone. Because remember, this is all about building your confidence so you can get past the fear of cold calling, get past the fear of prospecting for your shippers, right? Because without that, you're not going to grow a real business, okay? And then I'm going to give you one more, okay? I'm going to give you a tip here. We talked about it, but I'm going to dive in a little bit more there. Gather sales intelligence. Now, sales intelligence is any data that you can collect that enhances your opportunity to get the sale. Now, sales intelligence about the industry that you're going after, the niche, sales intelligence about the company that you're going after in your niche, and sales intelligence about the actual prospect, the person you are going to be interfacing with and reaching out to. So gathering sales intelligence is information and data that gives you a leg up, gives you an opportunity, right, to get the sale. So I shared an example of some sales intelligence with that article about the steel industry. Let's give you another one. If you're a prospect, if you have Joe Smith from XYZ Steel, you go to their website, you understand the products that they sell, you understand the geography that they're in, you understand maybe a little bit about the company history, you understand recent press releases. That sales intelligence is what will differentiate you not only by creating compelling sales hooks, but also during the conversation, because it's not always the hardest working or the smoothest talking salesperson. In my experience, it's the most educated. And I don't mean about formal education. I mean self-educated and educated about the industry, the company, and the prospect, okay? So gathering sales intelligence, my 3 favorite places to go. Google, obviously, because Google knows everything. The company website, because that has all the secrets inside of all their products and marketing information. And the number 3 is LinkedIn. So those are my 3 favorite sales intelligence tools and places to gather sales intelligence, all for free. So those are my tips. That was the 4 reasons why you're afraid to cold call, and you're probably not making the number of calls that you need or making any calls. So take these 4 reasons and take those few tips that I gave you and apply them to your business. The key is you got to get started, because you will never build a successful freight brokerage or freight agency without getting past the fear of cold calling. So listen, for those of you that are curious about the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, check out the wait list, get on the wait list. This is, again, where I take this piece of my brain, everything about freight broker sales, system strategies, and all the tools. And I teach you that in a 5-week coaching program. Okay. I take that entire piece of my brain. I help you implement it in your business. Or if you're just a brand new startup and you're just looking to get started, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We've trained over 10,000 students. Again, been in business, had that program for over a decade. I've done over $200 million as a freight broker. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee.